It's time for a weekly Wealth Insight. And hello, it's Picken coming live here from Teeson Island. Beautiful, beautiful day here. What is this Wealth Insight all about? Well, I'm going to start with a story and then I'll explain it. So it was the year 2000. I graduated cum laude BSc construction management, and I actually did my dissertation on how technology was going to change the construction and property industry. And then I was in London in 99. I was working on a construction site, and I remember reading in my mate's book, like literally it's one of those random things that happens in life. I was like sitting at his table. We're supposed to be going out, I think partying or something, and he was taking so long, and I started reading something. I can't even remember where the book came from, and it was about courses. And I ended up seeing that there was a master's in construction IT, construction technology. Now, I didn't even know that existed, and it was only offered by two universities in England, one in Manchester and one at Greenwich, which is in London. And so anyway, so I was like, oh, wow. But now we were already in February. So I went along, I went down to see the dean at Greenwich University, and I said, right, I want to do this course. And he said, great, well, and I showed him my undergrad degree and honors and cum laude and all that stuff. And he said, great, we'd love to have you. You can start next year. And I said, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm not starting next year, I'm starting now. And he said, no, but we started 3 weeks ago. And I said, well, dude, 3 weeks. Like, I can catch up. I cum laude my last one. I'll catch up. And he was like, no, it's not how it's done. I was like, I'm doing it. Okay, and this comes into the Wealth Insight. So anyway, he gives me a whole bunch of objections, and I deal with all the objections, and I'm like, trust me, I can do this. So he finally accepts, and he says, right, I can participate. Then the next hurdle comes in. So to do the course costs £2,500 a year if you're a British citizen. But if you're not a British citizen, it's £7,500 a year. So I remember going, wow, like I don't have £7,500, and I know my parents didn't. I remind you, if you don't know, my father was bankrupt. Anyway, I remember sitting on a boat. For some of you, if you've lived in London, you'll know what I mean. There was a boat that was on the Thames, and it was this beautiful, big old boat that people used to go and have beers. It was a pub that was on the boat. And I remember phoning my mom and dad, and I remember phoning my mom and telling her the story, and my mom going, oh, that's wonderful, son. I'm so proud of you, but, we don't have the money. And then I spoke to my father, and my father said, like, don't worry, we'll make a plan. And that comes to the essence of this Wealth Insight. My father taught me that where there's a will, there's a way. There's always a way when there's a will. And that I went out and I spoke to my bursars back in South Africa. I spoke to bursars in London, and I ended up getting £15,000 to pay my £7,500 course. And the other 7.5 I was able to use for, the additional stuff that you need if you go to university. You'll know what I'm talking about. There was another objection that I had to get over. So the dean wanted me to do it over a 3-year period. It's a 18-month degree, master's degree. He wanted me to do it over 3 years, and I said, no ways, I want to do it full time. And he said it's illegal to do a full-time master's on top of a full-time job. I was working 6 days a week on a construction site. And I said, dude, that's my problem, not yours. So anyway, I did a full-time master's on top of a full-time job, 6 days a week. On top of that, I was playing first team rugby and I was captain. Now, I don't tell you that to boast. I tell you that to impress upon you that where there's a will, there's a way. I doubled my income in my job 5 times in 5 years. So I believe I was adding value to that company, and I cum laude'd my master's. And why am I telling you the story? Well, for me, it's the essence of where there's a will, there's a way. It comes back to one of the greatest gifts I was given by my father, which is the self-belief that even if you don't know how to do it, if you've got the will, there is always a way. And, it comes down to, a good example at the moment, this book I wrote 10 years ago, Property Going Global, and was endorsed by Clem Sunter. And it's time for an upgrade, and we're literally launching Wealth Going Global. And it's starting, literally, you can click on the link below. And what's interesting is that I've run a couple of live webinars to trying to teach people and to share them the opportunity. And so many people come to me and they've got excuses. They're like, oh, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the knowledge, I've got a day job, I'm busy, and my company's too busy, my husband, my wife, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my blah, 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 children. I've heard all the excuses before. Where there's a will, there's a way. What does your future self believe? Where do you want to be in 10 years from now? Because ultimately, what is Wealth Going Global? Well, it's building a very solid foundation for you to build a tall building. It's helping you decide what are the top 5 countries you want to invest in. What are the top 5 currencies you want to invest in? What are the top 15 asset classes you should be investing in? How do you choose the right partners and avoid, the mistakes that 80% of people make? And lastly, time. How do you build a wealth plan that can get you from where you are to where you want to get to? Doesn't matter what stage of the journey you're in. You can be highly wealthy and you want to be a globally diversified, passive income citizen. Or you could be a rank beginner going, I want that, but I don't know where to get started. I suppose the choice comes down to where there's a will, there's a way. I could have sat back with that, firstly the dean, and then with my parents, and then ultimately with even doing the course. And I could have literally said, oh, I agree with you, or I could have given in to the excuses. Who knows how different my life would have been. But I decided to take a decision. I decided that where there's a will, there's a way, and I would find the way. And even if I didn't know the way, I would make a decision, I would commit, and I would find a way. And I did. And you too can. And hopefully that little story inspires you of what's possible in your life. That's this Wealth Insight. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel. I look forward to seeing you hopefully on the course so that you can create the future you want over the next 10 years. But if not, make sure that you make a commitment to yourself either way. And when you make a decision, where there's a will, there's a way. Have a wonderful week. Cheers.